see Mr. Lincoln no more until later on. However, back in Rochester, even though I had mentioned earlier that I had moved, back in Rochester, it was night, it was cold, frigid. And we looked up in the air, and there was the stars, the moon, and all of us gathered. And out of nowhere, the Pony Express rolled up. And the Pony Express, Hildy, 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 the news of the day. And he jumped off his horse and he unraveled the paper that he had and he began to read. Hildy, 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 the President of these United States, Abraham Lincoln, has just signed into act, into law, the Emancipation Proclamation, stating from this day forth that all Negroes in this country are to be free. Well, I have you know, that was the best celebration I ever heard. We left that cold air and we went to the church, and before we left that church, it was dawn. That's how much celebrating we had done to find out that we were officially free in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, I just got the signal, and I hope you learned a little something. I hope you gathered something that you can take back with you. And I just hope that somewhere in your journey, if not all, that you will stop and pick up my first book, The Narrative and Life of Frederick Douglass. And just to let you know, as of last year, 2018, in our northern tier of the country, all public schools are what they're doing now. All right, they just passed a law that Frederick Douglass is becoming part of the curriculum. That's only in the northern tier that Frederick Douglass will be taught as a what do they call it? A class that you must take. There you go. All right. So 3 cheers for Frederick. And with that, that ends my presentation. And I thank you all very much. Thank you.
Y'all been a good audience. Certainly I want to respect that. And some of you may want to leave, but he's willing to answer questions for about 5 minutes. But if you have to leave, we understand that. And certainly we don't want to make you have to stay. But if you have any questions, you may ask him at this time.
Be afraid.
Are you teaching that? Are you going to be teaching at Frederick Douglass class?
No, sir. No, sir.
You should be.
Yeah, I hear I should be. But I do a lot of traveling as Frederick Douglass. And to be honest with you, there are other gentlemen that travel as well as Frederick Douglass. But I have the distinctive opportunity to not only teach on Mr. Douglass, but as you see, I look like Mr. Douglass. And if it wasn't for the cell phones that we have, the electronics that we have, if you all would come and say, excuse me, sir, are you kin to Mr. Douglass? That would be the first answer I give, yes. But since you all can look it up, no, I am not kin. I just happen to be fortunate enough to look like him. Yes, I did trace it. And as a matter of fact, my last name is Dowridge, and I did trace it. As a matter of fact, when they took some of the slaves, when they took them from Africa, they took them to Great Britain. And when they got to Great Britain, those slaves were attached with the name Dowridge. So my last name is a Great Britain. Yes. Yes,
Or I'll deal with it
yeah, the question was, what inspired me to do Frederick Douglass, or just to be an actor in general? Well, to be honest with you, back in the days, as far as acting go, there was an actor by the name of Billy D. Williams. And I was kind of inspired by him, but that opportunity would not come till later on. So I did plays, I did a lot of plays, you know when you're a kid, my great-grandmother, who was very religious, and they were having to play at church, and she just pushed me up on stage. So that's sort of kind of how it happened. So, and like I said, I've been doing Frederick Douglass for how I look at myself and how I look at everybody else. So it's been a blessing.
That's good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You made my day. Anybody else? Question?
Did you get back and forth with your wife? Did you go back to Annie?
Well, as a matter of fact, Anna and I, we stayed together for 40 years. And unfortunately, in the year of 1882, she died. She had a stroke, and after her stroke, she died, and it took a lot out of me. I stayed single for 2 years, and after that 2 years, I got married again to a young lady who happened to be my secretary, Helen Pitts, and she was white. And my daughter, Rosetta, she read me my 3rd degree. Yes. And just to let you know, I am buried in Rochester, New York. Anna is buried next to me, and Helen is buried to my right. And a lot of kudos to Helen because of the fact that after I died, it was her who saved my home so that it could become a national treasure that it is today. When I died, she got X amount of dollars and my children got X amount of dollars out of my will. So what she did, she bought out my children and she became the sole owner of Cedar Hill, if you will. And upon my death, I wound up turning it over to the Parks Department. So the Parks Department in Washington, D.C., they own the home now. So that's why it's such a national treasure. And probably about every 10 years, they paint it. Every 10 years, or if anything, the crack, wear and tear, they fix it. And just to let you know, when I went to the home, we were not allowed to touch any of the paraphernalia in the home. As a matter of fact, they had ropes. You could walk down the hallway and there was ropes. You were not allowed to go into the study, the kitchen, or what have you, because they didn't want any fingerprints because of the longevity of everything in there. If you touch it, you could contaminate it. So everything is just like it was when Frederick was living there. That is in Anacostia. It's right outside of Washington, D.C. Yes. Think about 5-10 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. And a piece of history for you, because it was just announced. Here's a piece of trivia history for you. In 2012, when we visited the home, I went to Baltimore because my niece had passed. And she was one of the few African Americans who were a student at Johns Hopkins University. As a matter of fact, she was the A student, if you will, leader of her class. And she got terribly ill and she passed. Well, upon leaving the cemetery, we get back in the car, and the first thing I said before I turned the radio on, I said, let's go to Frederick Douglass' house. Cool. Turn the radio on, and we hear this. Whitney Houston has just passed. It stays in my head. So, one of those moments, where were you when? Yeah.
So, talk about some of the popular ways that you have been memorialized, and perhaps the most popular way you have been memorialized.
Well, the most popular way is, as a matter of fact, they have put a statue of me in the Capitol building at the Rotunda. As a matter of fact, I believe that took place maybe about 4 years ago. As a matter of fact, President Barack Obama, he was the main speaker of that ceremony. Not only that, in Rochester, New York, I didn't even know this while I was still living. They had a bust built of me in Rochester, New York. And this was after I had left. Quite naturally, you have Frederick Douglass schools. And if I may share, while in Baltimore, I just happened to walk into the school, which was entitled the Frederick Douglass High School. So as I'm walking into school, and I'm looking for the main office, so I'm standing there, and I'm kind of, pondering, where's the main office? And all of a sudden, I just have to turn around, and as I turn around, there's this big, gigantic statue of Frederick Douglass. I mean, it's like 9 feet tall, and he's standing there looking down like this. And I'm like, oh, man, you talk about a heart attack. And like I mentioned earlier, that up north, the northern tier, they instituting into studies the curriculum, the Frederick Douglass studies. So Frederick Douglass, believe it or not, his birthday, what's the date?
19.
The day he died is February 20th, 1895. That will be tomorrow. He was 77 years old when he passed. And as a matter of fact, I'm trying to find the display board. I think it's probably up there. If you look at the display board, the bottom one on the right side, you'll see me laying at the bottom of the footstep, or the stairwell. I asked the tour guide, I said, how did Frederick Douglass die? He said, well, he came home from a speaking engagement from a young lady that some of you all might be very familiar with, Susan B. Anthony. And when he walked in the house, Helen Pitts had company over him, and she said, Frederick, would you like some tea? He said, no, I'll go upstairs and relax because I have another engagement. Well, as soon as he put his foot on that first stairwell, he jerked a little bit, and Helen said, Frederick, stop playing around. A lot of people don't know that Frederick, he had a sense of humor, a large sense of humor, so large that I read recently that his grandchildren, the girls, with his long hair, they braided up his hair one day, and there was a knock at the door. Well, when he went to open up the door, guess who was at the door? Some of his intelligent friends who did not know that side of Frederick Douglass. So he rushed back, he opened up the door, he's like, and he rushed back and had his wife to take the braids out of his hair. And he also played the violin too. As a matter of fact, he would have his son Louis, when Louis was younger, he would have him to stand right in front of him and play the violin. He loved the violin. So Frederick had a large sense of humor, and I will be honest with you, I do too, because people tell me, they don't like you crazy. But it's all how you enjoy life, you know, get the best out of your life, you know? Get the best out of it, and always be happy, no matter what you go through, because life is so short.
Thank you all very much. It's been a good day. We have some other appointments today. I got a board meeting this evening. And they said that I'm certainly grateful. There's a lot to learn about Frederick Douglass. Certainly a great American story. And I just wanted to conclude by saying that Abraham Lincoln's and Frederick Douglass' birthday days are the reason for Carter G. Woodson selecting February for Black History Month. He wanted to, because he considered them two great Americans. And for the longest, the blacks celebrated Abraham Lincoln's birthday. They lift every voice and sing what we call our, the Negro National Anthem, was written as a poem for the 75th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birthday by two Floridian brothers. And the NAACP adopted it and made it the Negro National Anthem. Thank you.
Yeah, and he died right there on the stairwell. That's why I was, I'm sorry about that. I was demonstrating that with the picture, you can see as you go out. Yes. Thank you all again.